Kevin Gallagher is a supervisory special agent with the FBI's Washington Field Office, supervising a complex financial crime squad investigating cyber-related fraud, market manipulation, high-yield investment fraud, insider trading, and other types of financial fraud. Special Agent Gallagher previously worked at the Washington Field Office as a special agent investigating complex overseas counterterrorism investigations, in many cases overlapping with the FBI's cyber mission. He then moved to Counterterrorism Division at the FBI headquarters, where he was elevated to unit chief before returning to his current position with the Washington Field Office. Kevin, would you join us?
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? All right, great. All right, thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here, because as you're going to learn from, in fact, I was sitting outside at our booth and somebody came and asked me and said, probably here in the room, said, so you chase financial crime? And lately it seems, I feel like that's what we do. We chase financial crime because it's gotten so out of control and the numbers are just staggering. So to be quite honest, the best defense that we have and the best offense and the best weapon we have against financial crime is education. And so for each of you that are here today, I just can't thank you enough for being here, because it's just a testament to you continuing your education as well as becoming those people in your communities, in your homes, in your families, to take the lessons that you learned, from the previous presentation. Jim had some great contacts. In fact, you're going to probably hear some of the same trends that I've been talking, that I'm going to talk about, that Jim kind of just touched on. But the education and providing that information to your communities, to your families, to your friends is our greatest weapon against financial crime. So I really, really appreciate you guys being here today. And I'll be happy to take questions. I'll be outside at our booth afterwards, myself and Special Agent Jamie Daly. So we'll be looking forward to chatting with you in more depth afterwards if you have any questions. But today I've been asked to talk specifically about use of artificial intelligence. So my goals today are to do three things. One, introduce you to AI, which you've already been introduced earlier on with Professor Stephen Ruth, giving you some where AI came from and things of that nature. But two, take a moment to talk about kind of our top financial fraud scams that we've seen based off of IC3.gov statistics over the last year, and how AI may increase those numbers down the line. Because when it comes to financial fraud, there's two things. One, we don't see a whole lot of AI being used currently, but two, we are very afraid of the impact that AI can have in the future. And it is already starting to be used, and we're going to give you some examples of that. But the capabilities of AI are both amazing and scary at the same time. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then three, to give you the tools and locations for you to report crimes, and what that means, where that goes, and how we apply that. Let me see here, I got my clicker. So we're going to start with a quick video.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
So, fascinating and scary at the same time, because that is not Morgan Freeman, and it looks and sounds exactly like Morgan Freeman. So, everybody probably remembers this, at least from the movies. This is the Lufthansa heist. I'm sure you guys have seen Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies. But I have actually a colleague at the FBI at the Washington field office whose father was one of the investigators here on the Lufthansa heist, so I've heard his story, and I wish he was here to tell it to you because it's a great story that he's able to tell. He has just fascinating details about it. But to highlight that this was the greatest heist back in the 70s. $5 million that were taken, which is about $28 million in today's funds. But if you think about how much time and effort went into this particular heist and the risk that they took, not only to their personal safety, but to the safety of their family and friends, it's fascinating. We have individuals who, Jimmy Burke here, that's on the right from the movie Goodfellas, but he's a real guy. Receives this tip from his buddy Henry Hill, who got information about how Lufthansa was moving large amounts of money through JFK and where they could pick it up. So they had to recruit what is called an insider. So we have somebody who is within the security department at the airport that gives them access, and then masked gunmen go in and take the money. And then afterwards, of course, like you see in the movie, you got to get rid of all those people that are going to take a portion of your money or going to rat on you. And if you've seen the movie, how that ends up for some of those people. Jimmy Burke is obviously never arrested, and that money was never recovered. And that was the old way. The new way is, and as my colleague at the FBI always says, you too can be a Lufthansa heist person, and you can do it now from your own home. You don't need to get all these people and recruit these people and have the guy who's going to find the pickup car and destroy the pickup car. You can do it simply behind a computer. And AI is unfortunately going to make that easier for the criminals and more difficult for you and I to spot. So I have another quick video to show you some examples of how that's being used, and we'll talk about some actual applications of that.
The cost of doing business proved to be astronomical for a finance worker in Hong Kong who was duped into handing over millions of dollars after being tricked by deepfake technology during a conference call. It's the latest frightening example of how quickly artificial intelligence is progressing. CTV's Colton Prale has more.
An elaborate, first-of-its-kind scam straight out of science fiction. Police say thieves used artificial intelligence to create a phony video conference call with deep-fake colleagues to fool a financial worker in Hong Kong and steal $35 million.
This is real-time back and forth. This is an escalation of the technology that we've already come to fear. Now we have a reason to fear it even more.
And those fears are top of mind for 80% of Americans who said they're worried about deepfakes during the 2024 election, according to new polling.
And the challenge with this new technology is the content spreads so quickly. Even if you have good laws in place, it doesn't necessarily allow for fast action to get the content taken down.
From deepfake pornography of Taylor Swift to robocalls supposedly from the president telling Americans not to vote, the risks posed by the audio and video duping technology are quickly growing.
It means we all need to be careful to check the authenticity.
Even that warning from Joe Biden isn't real.
Verification used to be on a lot of platforms. A video of a person with just a piece of paper saying, I am this person. However, with deepfake, I can create a video verification of you and I become you on that platform.
Legal experts say a combination of legislation and fast action from social media companies will be key to maintain voter trust as deepfakes ramp up during the election cycle in the U.S. and here at home.
Ottawa says they're worried about the role AI could play in future elections and are working to fix it, adding they plan to implement the online harms bill soon. But experts say 2 years after the original died on paper, it isn't soon enough. Heather.
All right, thanks, Colton.
So for a minute, let's just talk about how this synthetic content could be utilized. This example that was provided by this news outlet in Canada talks about how an individual got onto an actual conference call with colleagues. And if you've ever been on one of those Zoom calls, it looks like, Hollywood Squares has got everybody up on the top. And imagine looking at your colleagues' faces or your friends' faces on top of the screen and none of those people actually being your friends, but them all looking like your friends, sounding like your friends, and asking you to go access your bank accounts and send money for some investment investment that they're working together on. I mean, this doesn't have to be cryptocurrency. This can be old fiat currency. This could be, heck, it could be meeting somebody in a parking lot and providing it to them, some courier. It could be Uber coming to your house to pick it up. There's any number of ways that scammers can have that money transmitted to them. And really what it is about the believability of the situation that they're creating for you. We talked a little bit about, in the previous presentation, they talked about pig butchering a little bit. Pig butchering, we refer to that at the FBI as crypto confidence fraud. We're talking about that a little bit more, but increasingly what we're seeing in that space is how people are actually getting that money out into the false investment platforms. But being contacted by people, and when we have found scripts of these call centers that are in Southeast Asia and previously in China, one of the scariest quotes that I've seen from these scripts for the scammer is, there is no unscammable person, you just need the right script. And AI is going to make that more easy as we go forward. It's going to make it easier for them and harder for us to detect. So synthetic content, what is it? It is that also known as deep fakes. We're talking about video and audio files that have been digitally manipulated to replace a person's likeness or sound. So this person looks, sounds like, maybe acts like, and with the advent of social media and kids using this, and especially when we talk a little bit about like the grandparent scam, they will have the content, they will have the lingo, they will have the trips, they will have all of the content, it's called social engineering, that they need to make that more believable. Because not only do they have your child or your grandchild's face, they have their voice, and they have all of this backing stories to say, I was just in Jamaica and we had a great time, we did X, Y, and Z. Well, that's precisely what happened because they posted their life story to their website or to their Instagram page or to their Twitter account, their X account. Deepfakes use the power of learning technology. Employed properly, they can produce content convincingly to show people saying or doing things that they never did or create people that never existed in the first place. You saw that Joe Biden clip where they put it side to side, where they just changed the things that he actually said. So you always need to identify what is the source of the information that you are receiving, whether it's financial, whether it's political. What is that source? And increasingly we're finding that young folks especially, source of news and content creation is on social media and not on traditional news outlets that you all may go to for your news. So where did this come from? And how is it used? So this is an example. I'm going to skip through this video because we don't have enough time, so I'll just talk about it a little bit. But in March 2021, in an attempt to remove her daughter's rivals from her high school cheer team, a mother of a cheerleader was arrested for sending a parent deepfake photographs and videos of her daughter's cheerleading teammates and coaches showing the teammates engaged in inappropriate contact and messages encouraging the teammates depicting to kill themselves. So literally, a woman wanted to get her daughter on the cheer squad and created, using deepfake technology that is available on your phone, that you can download applications and pay a nominal fee for, created videos or identified videos, did face swaps of those people to make it look like the other girls that were on the team, and sent it to the coach from what is called voice over IP, so fake phone numbers that are U.S. phone numbers that can have the exact same area code that you live in, and transmitted that to try to get these girls kicked off the squad, so to make room for her daughter to make it on the squad. And funny story, but at the same time, the implications of that are awful. So this woman was arrested. We'll skip past this particular video, but there she is, not looking too happy for her to be in jail. But she did put her makeup on before she went there. So we'll talk a little bit about the origins of these deepfakes videos and just skip past this. All right. So first deepfakes appeared in pornographic films in 2017. Reddit, where celebrities' faces were being utilized. So obviously we have these people's likeness that is being utilized. This is an enormous problem, especially an increasing problem with youth. I have 2 children that are both in middle school, one about to go off to high school, and you've probably heard the stories of individuals using deep fakes to put pictures of faces on other girls or boys in the schools and sending that back and forth. And an important message is that this is, 1, not okay, and 2, the legality of this hasn't really been fully, explored. But as a law enforcement officer, I can tell you that when it comes to the exploitation of children, that is one of our top priorities. We have squads dedicated to this, and AI is going to make this a more difficult challenge for them to identify where a child is truly actually being exploited, or if it's simply AI that is being used to exploit that child. But either way, it's very, very serious. Then we have in 2018, Jordan Peele made news when he posted a deep fake of a video of former U.S. President Obama making disparaging remarks and warning of the dangers of deep fake media. So this is when it starts to pick up a little bit. And then we see that picture of Tom Cruise, if anybody's ever seen this. This is my first advent into seeing the use of AI, is these videos of Tom Cruise. And I'll just go ahead and show this one just briefly because it's shocking.
What's up, TikTok? Got a little tip for you. Call it a tip talk. If you don't have earbuds, okay, it's hard. It's hard to talk on the phone. It just keeps on falling out. So go old school, analog. Just get it involved. You got to plug it in. It's not wireless, but it's the better way.
So that is not Tom Cruise, but it looks like, sounds like Tom Cruise. So let's talk about how this means it could affect you, because some of the fraud schemes that we've talked about may not affect you in particular. So we'll talk about specifically how this may affect you. So hijacking accounts. Social engineering is the process of gathering information about an individual to gain access to somebody's account. If anybody had seen 60 Minutes last week, the FBI Assistant Director Brian Vorndren talked about a loose-knit organization of mostly young hackers called Scattered Spider that were able to gain access to MGM and Caesars. These individuals utilized that social engineering capability to contact the IT department and gain access to what they perceive to be an actual worker for MGM, and then separately for Caesars to gain access to their systems, essentially shutting down multiple casinos simultaneously. It cost MGM, they didn't pay a ransom, but it did cost them $100 million in order to gain access back to their systems. Caesars paid $15 million to regain access to their systems. Now, that social engineering and the tools used by Scattered Spider are already scary enough, but imagine adding AI to that. And AI can more just your likeness and the voice. You can utilize AI to create very detailed scripts. You can pump in the information that you know about somebody and quickly pump out a script for somebody to read off. You just ask Chat, has anybody ever used ChatGPT? I mean, it is fascinating. Go to ChatGPT, go download it and ask it, just say, hey, write me a story in the voice of Shakespeare about 2 young kids who met and went off to Virginia Tech. And within 2 seconds, you'll have that script. But imagine doing the same thing of give me a script about how to call somebody and tell them that I've lost my credit card and my name is this, and then pump in information, you'll have it instantly. So the information that was given to you previously by Jim talking about how to monitor your accounts, we won't go into more detail, but multi-factor authentication is absolutely something you want to have enabled. Trusted contacts on your bank accounts. That could be a brother, a sister, a son, or a daughter. So if any big movements that happen in your accounts, that they can contact that trusted person that's been added to your account. Ameriprise Financial has on their website a really good description of the utility of having trusted partners on those accounts and how you can go and ask your financial institution if they have such a program. So multi-factor authentication through both technology, but as well through other humans that can be on those accounts that know you. Disinformation campaigns, you saw the information on there when we are increasingly getting our news from X and from Instagram and from YouTube or TikTok. The vulnerability of deepfakes being used to influence your opinions is going to be more rampant on those websites if that is where you get your news, as opposed to general cable and network news outlets or other journalistic outlets. So always, always double check, where is that information coming from? Is this a deep fake? How do I verify this information as you go forward and you make your own decisions, both politically, financially, or however the other important decisions in your life. Fake celebrity online investment scams. So in the FBI's Internet Crimes Complaint Center, ic3.gov, which everybody should write that down. We'll talk about that a little more. We have pamphlets outside. Is how the FBI identifies trends in financial crime. This is the reporting center for anybody who has been scammed or identified a scam, whether it's on the internet or you received a phone call or even somebody came to your door. And in 2023, we had over 880,000 complaints amounting to $12.5 billion in loss. I wish I could tell you exactly what the overall loss actually is, because this is just the reported loss. And each of these are read by somebody at the FBI when these come in. Somebody reads it and categorizes this. The number one fraud within that $12.5 billion is investment fraud, over $4 billion. Of that total amount, 3.96 is related to $1 billion is related to cryptocurrency. And within that cryptocurrency, we have the crypto investment fraud that we talked about that is known on social media outlets as pig butchering or shazupan, which is just a Chinese term that literally means killing pig plate. But the concept of that is to fatten up the victim before they slaughter them. So we like to use the term crypto confidence because it is more descriptive of the types of activities that can occur there. It can be romance related. It could be building confidence of somebody by social network or socially engineering a conversation with somebody who is going through a difficult time. And like I said before, that we find scripts in these call centers overseas that said there is no scammable person, unscammable person. You just need the right script. It really depends on, I hear stories all the time. How could somebody fall for that? How can somebody fall for that? That would never happen to me. But if you're caught at a vulnerable moment and somebody's able to social engineer that, then you could become that person. I have my wife's grandmother who grew up in Burke. She was actually worked for Fairfax County Public Schools. My Mimi is what I refer to her as. Mimi, who passed a few years ago, but when she was 82 years old, I remember she got a phone call on and it was one of her grandchildren. And she had 6 boys, 3 triplets, a single, and twins. And one of them called and she goes, "Hey, Grandma, it's me." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, who is this? It's your favorite grandson." "Oh, all my grandsons are my favorite. Which one is this?" And she recorded the entire conversation and called me and said, "Kevin, I got them. I have the recording of this. I'm going to send this to you. We're going to find them." And she was, at that point in time, I would say she was unscammable, right? Now, what if it had actually been her son or her grandson's voice? That would have been a different situation. What if it had actually been a spoofed phone number from her grandson? It was his actual phone number. So what do you do in those particular instances? So when we have up here using a fake celebrity online, the image and likeness of anybody can influence you to believing something is true. So when it comes to investment fraud, when it comes to receiving a phone call from anybody, when it comes to you going and closing on your house, the FBI is coming up with a new public service announcement for a process we call check, call, wait. If you ever get a text message, an email address, or email from somebody, make sure you check it. What is that phone number? Is it one number off? What is that email? Is it one letter off? Is it coming from bankofamerica.com or bankofamerica.xyz? What is that? Call a trusted individual that you know, or flip over your banking card and call that number. If it's your grandson that's calling you, telling you they've been kidnapped and they're in Mexico, say, I'm going to call you on another phone. Call your grandson. Because the phone that's calling you may look like your grandson's phone or your son's phone, but it's being spoofed. So if you call them separately, they'll pick up the phone and you'll find that they're okay. Wait. If you ever have a transaction that you are doing, if you are going to buy a house, if you were, my parents just sold their house. They're moving over into Woodley Chase over in Fairfax. And they haven't sold a house for a long time. And the first thing I said to my mom is like, Mom, check, call, wait. And she said, well, I'm bringing a check to the title company. I was like, well, that's probably good too. But reminding her that if she gets any of those messages, it says, if you don't do this now, then you're going to lose out on this opportunity to sell your house. It's never going to be that situation. Wait. Think about it. Call your trusted partners. Call your trusted contacts. Do the calling of the individuals in the back of your card. Don't succumb to the pressure of that time constraint. Let's see, that's this little bit. Right. So voice cloning, it only takes 3.7 seconds with Microsoft AI's model to capture somebody's audio. So another thing to always remember to protect yourself is how much of you is out there on the internet. I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about how they build these AI models and these chat models. And OpenAI, obviously the biggest people behind ChatGPT, according to this podcast I was listening to, had scraped the entirety of the internet. What was ever public. They finished. They got everything. They got everything they could possibly get. So what they started doing is building a voice-to-text capability to then go and scrape all of YouTube and videos online in order to turn that to text and to put that into there. So there's nothing that AI can't reach. So you have to ask yourself, how much of me is open to the internet? If you have a Facebook account, are you, and because this is how a lot of people connect these days. But if you have a Facebook account, are you locked down? Are you only available to your friends, or are you available to the world? So if you have any social media, or if your grandchildren or your children have social media, ask them that question. What is available to the world? Why do you need to have everybody, seeing what you're doing and taking pictures of your dinner every single night? Because that's typically what we do, right? I have taken a picture of my dinner before. I don't post it though. So ask yourself those questions. Ask your family and your friends those questions. Because that is the area that we're going to be able to, capture the information that is needed as a scammer to clone those people. So again, talking about these platforms where everything's getting. And the scariest thing is, like we had mentioned, is a story you're going to hear right after this from Jane King talking about the grandparent scam, which is where you receive that phone call from a family member, from a son, a daughter, a grandchild, and it sounds like them. And this is where this comes from, the target exploitation of individuals, that they become the victims, but they're utilized in order to get to the next victim. And that's available on TikTok, Instagram, where all these videos, their life stories are. So a quick video that talks about one that actually I was brought into even at the Washington field office, despite the fact that this was in Arizona, because we're seeing this increasing, and where these frauds come from are increasingly overseas, out of the reach of the FBI. So we're having to utilize our legal attaches that are in several countries overseas in order to pass information to local jurisdictions. But if you think about it, if you have the most populous country in the world, India, 1.4 billion people, this is a victimless crime in India. The victims are here. So it does not become the top priority for the government of India. So this is our effort. This is together with all of our law enforcement partners in the State Department to build capacity overseas, and we're working hard to do it. But like I said in the beginning, sometimes I feel like we are chasing fraud. So again, thank you so much for being here for that, and we'll watch this video and then have one more slide.
And if you don't have the money, both you and your daughter are dead. Warning of close encounters with scammers who used artificial intelligence to clone her daughter's voice.
Yeah, this is crazy. They actually made her believe they had kidnapped her 15-year-old, and then they demanded a ransom. So as On Your Side Susan Campbell found out, this is crazy. It doesn't take much of a voice sample to pull this scam off. This is so frightening to hear.
It really is. This truly terrified this mom, and this technology is actually improving so quickly. You really only need seconds of a voice sample to get pretty close to someone's real voice.
The phone number was unfamiliar. Jennifer DeStefano almost let it go to voicemail. But her 15-year-old was out of town skiing. Maybe there had been an accident.
I pick up the phone and I hear my daughter's voice, and it says, "Mom," and she's sobbing. And I was like, "What happened?" And she's like, "Mom, I messed up." And she's sobbing and crying. And then I hear a man's voice say, "Put your head back, lie down." And then I'm like, "Wait, what's going on?" And this man gets on the phone and he's like, "Listen here, I've got your daughter. This is how it's gonna go down. You call the police, you call anybody. I'm gonna pop her stomach so full of drugs, I'm gonna have my way with her and I'll drop her off in Mexico." And at that moment, I just start shaking. I'm like, "What?" In the background, she's going, "Help me, Mom, please, help me," and bawling.
And you have absolutely no doubt in your mind that that was her voice.
Oh, 100% her voice, 100% her voice. It was never a question of, who is this? Or it was completely her voice. It was her inflection. It was the way she would have cried. I never doubted for 1 second it was her. That's the freaky part that really got me to my core.
But the 15-year-old never said any of it. It was just a clone created by artificial intelligence.
You can no longer trust your ears.
Subaro Kamampati is a computer science professor at Arizona State who specializes in AI. He says voice cloning technology is rapidly improving.
Now there are ways in which you can do this with just 3 seconds of your voice. So with the 3 seconds, it can come extremely close to how exactly you sound.
And you don't even need any special equipment.
I chose a free program for a test, and I'm not actually talking.
It's a new toy, and I think there could be good uses, but certainly there can be pretty worrisome uses too.
You got to slow down and diffuse the situation.
The FBI's Dan Mayo says scammers who use voice cloning often find their prey on social media.
They're going to be looking for public profiles that have as much information as possible on you. And when they get a hold of that, they're going to dig into you.
The Federal Trade Commission says scammers will often ask their victims to wire money, send cryptocurrency, or pay the ransom with gift cards. Once the money is gone, it's almost impossible to get it back.
The phone number's coming from an area code that you're not familiar with. That should be one red flag. Second red flag, international numbers. Sometimes they will call from those as well. Third red flag, they will not allow you to get off the phone and talk to your significant other, right? That's a problem.
The person who had supposedly kidnapped Jennifer's daughter demanded money. He started at $1 million.
I was like, that I don't have $1 million. I'm like, fine, whatever, just want my daughter. Then he wants $50,000.
Jennifer kept him talking. She was at her other daughter's dance studio, surrounded by worried moms who wanted to help. One called 911. Another called Jennifer's husband. Within just 4 minutes, they confirmed her daughter was safe.
She was upstairs in her room going, what? What's going on?
What's going through your mind that second?
Then I get angry, obviously, with these guys because this is not something you play around with.
Wave of relief, though, I'm sure.
I literally just sat down and just broke down crying.
Tears for all of the what ifs. The fear, the relief. It all just seemed so real.
The FBI.
So, like you heard there, 3 seconds of audio is all you need. And the number of applications that are available on iPhones and Google Play Store in order to do this is increasing, and they're getting better and better and better. I've played around with them mostly for, to put my face in a movie or something like that, but it's shocking when you see your face in a movie and you're like, wow, that actually looks like me. I was in Die Hard, if you didn't know that, by the way. So finally, what can we do? What happens if I become a victim? Because like we said, there is no unscammable person. You just need the right script. I've talked to so many people, and the agents on my squad, I've talked to so many people that said, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe this happened. And this is, it spans from people in their 20s to people in their 90s. And we see people lose money from a few $1,000s to $50,000 to millions of dollars. I've spoken to people myself who have lost over $2 million and did it for over 2 years, where they continue to send money to federal lockers overseas. So if you think that you have been scammed, here are the contacts that you can go to. Obviously, immediately stop communication with that person. Pause communication with them. There's no reason to tell them you're going to call the FBI. That may just honestly increase the calls that you're going to get, because they call you back and say, hey, now it's the FBI, and now they're calling back. You just told them. You told them who you were calling. All right, so just stop contact with those individuals. Contact your credit bureaus, contact your bank. Maintain those records. Maintain the phone numbers that were calling you. If they're calling you on your landline, if you can write them down, keep a log of what those were. If they were on your phone, take screenshots of those text messages before they get deleted. But then also call the FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. But the best place to put this is ic3.gov. That is the Internet Crimes Complaint Center. It is the one-stop shop, not only for you to report a crime, but also it has a lot of our public service announcements and a lot of good education tools that are on there. I would share that with anybody that you come in contact with who has questions about financial crime or internet crime or hacking or anything. This is the one-stop shop, and this is where the FBI maintains its database on trends to identify where we should put our resources. You may not get a call back if you put something in ic3.gov. If you lost $500 because somebody in your local soccer organization asked you for gift cards and you fell for it, report it. But you're probably not going to get a call back from the FBI on $500 in gift cards. But it's important for us to know that, because it may attach to a much larger investigation. This is how we identify the total loss. This is how we prioritize cases. This is utilized potentially even in sentencing to identify the sentencing guidelines for an individual who has been caught. So it's very, very important, even if you don't hear back from us, to report. If you have lost a large amount of money, if you have done a wire, speed is important. Put that into ic3.gov as quickly as you can and call your local FBI office. We do have a process to, at times, depending on the amount, depending on how quickly you're able to tell us, to get some of that money back. So we're never going to promise you that we are going to, but we are going to try, and we have been successful over the years. Other federal agencies have had some success in this as well, but again, speed is important. So please don't feel like you can't. It's the most embarrassing thing in the world. We get it. But you are not alone. Or if you know somebody who's been victimized, they are not alone. Reporting it is important. So I'll pause there if we have any questions.
I think you actually covered all of them, Kevin. One thing I do want to say is cyber currency, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Someone calls and says, put all your money into this.
Don't
Are
do
they
it.
ever going to get it back?
So the difficulty, obviously, what we were mentioning is with bank wires. Bank wires are probably the easiest thing for us to get back, right? Cryptocurrency, I'm never going to say that the answer is never, because blockchain analysis tools are getting better. The FBI is getting better at blockchain analysis. Secret Service is very good at this. IRS, HSI. We can get that money back, but again, speed matters, and it's even faster in the crypto space. The beauty is that when it is on the blockchain, they have to get it off the blockchain. They have to move it to a place that they can actually get it out. And as Jim was talking about, we have know your customer requirements for a lot of these crypto exchanges. So Binance, for example, or crypto.com is going to need to know the information about who that customer is. And the FBI can at times identify who the person behind the account, where it went. But money moves very fast. It goes through what we call tumblers sometimes. It goes from one blockchain to another. It's essentially laundering, but in a very sophisticated, internet-savvy way. So we can get it back, but it is even more and more difficult. So I would advise, if you are ever going to get into crypto investment in any way, shape, or form, probably don't do it. But two, it's your money. You can do what you want, but education before you do it, and trusted people.
Kevin, are you going to be available?
I will be up at the table.
Excellent. So if you do have additional questions for the FBI, Kevin will be available at the tables in the conference room in 2 through 5. And all of the information that he shared with you about contacting the FBI directly or through the IC3 unit is also in the AARP brochures and information. So make sure if you pick up nothing else, pick up our red and white brochure. Our table is right outside the door there as you go out. So pick up the red and white AARP brochure about Fraud Watch, and all of that contact information is out there.